Welcome to the Sony Quick Start Guide for your new Sony camera. You've made a great purchase, and we hope this guide will help you get started taking impressive pictures. Sony makes it easy to get the best shot. If you'd like more information and updates for your specific camera model, Sony offers an e-support website. The e-support site allows you to enter your camera's model number and navigate to a specific support page for your camera model. Here you can view additional instructional videos, learn about compatibility and accessories, as well as learn tips for camera use and care. For additional information about using your camera, Quickpro Camera Guides offers in-depth instruction for a variety of Sony camera models. These guides walk you through each of the buttons and features and provide instruction and explanation for many photography concepts. Let's take a look at some of the items that are included in the box with your Sony camera. First, there is the battery. Some Sony cameras include a unique info-lithium rechargeable battery pack that exchanges information with the camera and will display the remaining battery time as a percentage according to the operating conditions of the camera. Other Sony camera models include a lithium-ion battery, and some models may require the use of standard AA batteries. If your camera uses a rechargeable battery, the first thing you'll need to do is charge it. Depending on the model, you will either use a battery charger or an AC adapter with the camera. Note that depending on the model, it will take about 4 hours to charge a fully depleted battery. When the light on the charger is lit, the battery is charging. When the light is no longer lit, the battery is fully charged. To insert the battery in the camera, open the battery cover. Then position the battery as indicated on the battery compartment cover and close the cover. Another accessory that was included with your camera is a camera strap. Attaching the strap to the camera is optional, but using it will help prevent the camera from being dropped accidentally. Most Sony cameras are capable of using various types of memory cards. You can use Memory Stick Pro Duo, Memory Stick Pro Duo HG, SD, SDHC, and SDXC memory cards. For best performance, use high-speed media like the Memory Stick Pro Duo HG or SD cards that are speed class 6 or higher. To insert a memory card, make sure the camera is powered off. Open the memory card slot cover. The type of card you're using will determine the direction that the contact should face. Be careful not to force the card. If it doesn't click into place easily, check to see that you have positioned it correctly. Note that forcing the card can cause damage to the camera and the card. To remove a memory card, open the memory card slot cover, press the memory card once to release it. Make sure that the access lamp is not lit. The first time you insert a memory card, the camera may prompt you with an image database file message. The camera requires an image database file to record images to the memory card. Select Enter and the image database file will be created or recovered. It's a good idea to format the memory card on its first use. To format the memory card, enter the camera's menu system and navigate to the Memory Card Tool menu. Here, select the Format option. Select OK to confirm that you'd like to format the memory card. Please note that formatting the memory card will erase all of the card's content, including all image and movie files. After you've inserted the battery and memory card, you're ready to start taking pictures. Hold the camera in both hands to stabilize yourself for a sharper image. Make sure the camera is switched to on and frame your image on the LCD or in the viewfinder. Press the shutter button halfway down to acquire focus. When you see the autofocus indicators change to green on the LCD and hear the beep tone, press the shutter button the rest of the way down to take the picture. After you've captured photos, you'll probably want to view those images on the LCD. To do this, simply press the playback button. Here you can scroll through the images on the memory card. If you'd like to enlarge an image to view detail areas, you can use the camera's magnify button. Depending on the model of your camera, you can select Enlarge Image or press the Zoom In button once or multiple times. Then you can scroll top to bottom and side to side to see detail in other areas of the frame. You can also view an image index. Again, depending on your model, you can either select Image Index or you can press the Image Index button. Here you can scroll through the images and press the center control button to view an image full screen. You can also play back movies that you have recorded with your camera. Movie files and still image files are stored in separate folders on the memory card. To play back movies, enter the Image Index and select the bar on the left side of the screen. Here you can select the Still Images folder or one of the movie folders. Your Sony camera features a variety of shooting modes that will help you get great photos regardless of your shooting scenario. Shooting modes may vary depending on camera model, but most Sony cameras feature several modes that are pre-programmed to suit specific scenarios. These modes will allow you to simply point and shoot and may include portrait mode, sports mode, landscape mode, and sunset mode. If you would like more creative control, you can use the camera's more advanced shooting modes. These modes will allow you to make adjustments to the overall brightness of the image, as well as control depth of field and motion blur. These shooting modes include Programmed Auto, Aperture Priority, Shutter Priority, and Manual. Your new Sony camera can help you capture amazing images, but what is white balance, metering, dynamic range optimization? Quickpro camera guides are filled with answers to these questions and more. We'll help you unlock the full potential of your camera. Quickpro camera guides walk you through everything from a camera body tour to exposure modes and a menu system tour. We'll explain white balance, creative styles, metering, focus modes, and the list goes on. You'll learn as you watch how to control your camera and see examples of what different settings will do for your pictures. The results can be spectacular. One of the most important concepts in photography is exposure, or the amount of light that falls on the image sensor. When an image is too bright, it is overexposed. When an image is too dark, it's underexposed. Properly exposed images have good detail in shadow, highlight, and midtone areas. Exposure is controlled by the camera's aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Let's talk about each of these settings now. The easiest way to brighten or darken an image is with EV compensation. To do this, press the Exposure Compensation button or select Exposure Compensation on the LCD. If you'd like to make the image brighter, you can place the cursor toward the plus side of the scale. If you'd like to make the image darker, you can place the cursor toward the minus side of the scale. The aperture is an opening in the lens that has two functions. First, it helps determine how much light reaches the image sensor. Second, it controls the depth of field. The opening can be either very narrow or very wide. The different settings are expressed as numbers, or f-stops. Small numbers, like f2.8, represent the largest openings. The larger numbers, like f22, represent the smallest openings. Although the aperture will help control the amount of light passing through the lens, the camera can compensate by adjusting the shutter speed and ISO sensitivity to maintain the same exposure. Depth of field is the term used to describe the distance between the nearest and farthest objects in a scene that appear acceptably sharp in an image. For instance, if you're taking a picture of a landscape, you'll probably want everything to be in sharp focus. For this, you would like a long depth of field, indicated by a high number like f22. This keeps the foreground and the background in focus. If you're taking a portrait, you would probably want to keep the viewer's attention on the subject by blurring the background. To do this, you would use a shallow depth of field, indicated by a lower number like an f3.5. This will keep everything in front and behind of the subject out of focus. Another important element of exposure is shutter speed. The shutter is the mechanical part of the camera that controls the length of time that the image sensor is being exposed to light. When you press the shutter button all the way down, the shutter opens and exposes the image sensor. You can set how long the shutter remains open to create some interesting effects in your photos. Although the shutter speed also controls the amount of light reaching the image sensor, the camera can compensate by adjusting the aperture and the ISO to try to maintain the same exposure. By controlling shutter speeds, you can learn how to freeze the action of a moving subject or intentionally use a slower shutter speed to create motion blur to give the illusion of movement. The amount of time the shutter stays open will determine whether the motion is frozen or blurred, as well as affect the exposure or overall brightness of the image. When the shutter stays open longer, more light can enter the camera. The shutter speed combined with the aperture and ISO determine the exposure of each shot. It's important to have the right combination to allow just the right amount of light to enter the camera. A fast shutter speed, like 1/4000th of a second, can freeze the wings of a bee in flight. At other times, you may want an extremely slow shutter speed, like 10 full seconds, to show the motion of car lights in a nighttime scene. In addition to aperture and shutter speed, there is one other factor that will determine whether your image will be properly exposed. Let's talk about ISO settings now. ISO is the measurement of the image sensor's sensitivity to light. The higher the number, the less light that is required to properly expose the image sensor. You can either have the camera automatically choose the sensitivity or you can set it manually. It's a good idea to set the ISO to suit the ambient light that you're shooting in. When you increase the ISO speed, a higher number for lower light, a faster shutter speed can be used to avoid motion blur. Keep in mind, though, that a higher ISO setting may introduce digital noise, often referred to as grain, into your images. Experiment with ISO settings to become more familiar with their range and control. The image sensor on your camera is very powerful, giving you the flexibility to shoot in low-light conditions and still get amazing pictures. Here's a guide that will help you have a basic idea of what ISO settings to use in various situations. When you're outdoors in full sun, use ISO 100 to 200. In the shade on an overcast day, or say indoors with lots of light, try using ISO 400. ISOs 800 and above could be used in low-light conditions or possibly for action shots that might require a faster shutter speed in order to freeze motion. If you want to use a certain shutter speed and aperture setting to achieve just the right look, adjusting the ISO can help you get a properly exposed image in the current lighting situation. To have access to these controls, you'll want to make sure that the camera is set to the PASM, or continuous priority shooting mode. To create a properly exposed image, it's important to make sure that the aperture, shutter speed, and the ISO settings are balanced to let just the right amount of light fall on the image sensor. Taking great pictures involves more than just knowing how to operate your camera. Impressive pictures often apply some basic rules of composition. The arrangement of the subjects and background in your image is referred to as composition. One of the most common and powerful rules in composition is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds simply states that an image should be divided into thirds horizontally and vertically, like a tic-tac-toe board. Your camera even features optional grid lines for the LCD, which can be selected from the menu system under grid lines. When the image is divided, there will be 4 intersections of the lines, and the subject should be placed on one of those intersections. As you're deciding which intersections to place the subject or focal point in, think about which part of the subject you'd like to be the focal point. If you're taking a close-up portrait, try keeping the eyes positioned at about the top third line. For photos of landscapes, always consider the area in the image where the land meets the sky to be the horizon line. A great photo will typically show the most important subjects in the upper portion of the frame, where the eyes naturally want to look. But sometimes it works best to divide the picture horizontally by the horizon line. Experiment with moving the horizon line higher or lower in the frame. Another way to improve your photos is to move or zoom in closer to the subject. The subject is emphasized when it fills the frame, creating a much more striking image. Let's discuss some basic lighting principles, particularly for portraits. There are two basic kinds of light: ambient light, often referred to as available or existing light, and artificial light, light that can be created by flashes, light bulbs, fluorescent, and studio lighting. Think of ambient light as the light you're shooting in that you didn't bring with you. Artificial light from a flash provides a very short but very bright burst of light at the precise moment that your camera takes a picture. The quality of light from a flash is designed to emulate the look and feel of sunlight. Recognizing the importance of light, its direction, intensity, and the color qualities of light is an important part of creating a great picture. When shooting outside, you'll typically have plenty of existing light for pictures with great exposure, but the light may be causing harsh shadows in areas that you want to be well lit. This is very common outdoors in full sun. Getting rid of harsh shadows on faces and unwanted silhouette effects are good examples of times when you'll want to use your onboard flash. The flash will fill in dark lines with light. When the flash is used in addition to existing light, it is often called a fill flash. Sometimes you may find that you're shooting in areas that do not have good light to capture a properly exposed photo. These situations would also be a great time to use your flash. In addition to your camera's built-in flash, you can also use an optional hot shoe flash for better results. These flash units allow you to bounce light off of a ceiling or wall. That creates more flattering light for your subjects. As you have used your camera, you may have noticed times when your images have had strong color casts of yellow, blue, or green. This is caused when the white balance is not set properly. The quality of your pictures is affected by the color of the surrounding light. Your Sony camera can compensate for virtually any color of light to help you ensure that the color in your images is realistic. Specific white balance settings may vary depending on camera model, but most Sony cameras include settings for auto white balance, daylight, shade, cloudy, incandescent, fluorescent, and flash. You can also set a custom white balance for the most accurate results with your specific lighting. Your Sony camera features either an iAuto or Superior Auto mode that you can use in any shooting scenario. This sophisticated mode makes it amazingly simple to capture beautiful images. Intelligent Auto means that the camera will automatically assess the scene and make necessary adjustments to the brightness, color, focus, and other settings. What makes this mode truly unique is that when it recognizes the scene recognition icon and guide will appear on the upper left corner of the LCD. The camera will then use settings from that scene mode to capture the image. Because of the intuitive way that the Intelligent Auto or Superior Auto mode functions, you can take professional quality photos regardless of your photography skill level. Even with the sophisticated auto modes, there may be times when you'd like to select a different shooting mode. Let's start with a landscape scenario. Remember, for landscape photos, we usually want everything to be in sharp focus. A quick way to do this is by using the landscape mode. The landscape mode is one of the scene modes on your camera, and depending on the camera model, it can be accessed on the mode dial or on the LCD. The landscape mode captures the entire range of scenery in sharp focus with vivid color. Shooting with your lens set to wide angle will increase the sense of vastness of the scenery. You'll also want to make sure to keep the camera level when you're shooting landscape images. In addition to your camera's ability to take a single picture, it can take a series of images as you sweep across a scene and seamlessly stitch them together. This is the amazing Sweep Panorama mode, which allows you to capture incredible large-scale images of scenic vistas. To shoot in this mode, make sure that the Sweep Panorama is selected on the mode dial or LCD. Now the camera will prompt you to take the shot. Simply press the shutter halfway down to set the focus and exposure, and then press and hold the shutter button the rest of the way down as you slowly move the camera in the direction of the arrow. As you're moving the camera, you will hear it take multiple shots at very high speed. In this mode, it's important to make sure you follow the direction of the arrow and move the camera at a smooth, consistent speed. Otherwise, the camera will be unable to shoot the panorama and will prompt you with an error message. The camera will seamlessly stitch all of the images together to create a single panoramic image. It will take your camera a few moments to process the image, and then it will be displayed on the camera's LCD. You can scroll across the final image in the direction it was taken by simply pressing the center soft key. If you want more creative control, you can select the aperture priority mode and choose an aperture value like f/22. This will help you keep the foreground and background in focus. When you're photographing landscape images, you may consider using one of Sony's wide-angle lenses. Wide-angle lenses will allow you to capture a wider perspective with everything in focus. Wide-angle lenses have a focal length of less than 35 millimeters. In addition to photographing beautiful landscape scenes, your camera also has the ability to create stunning close-up shots. The macro mode is great for close-ups of small subjects that are physically close to the lens. Use this to capture subjects such as food, flowers, or insects in clear, sharp focus. For more creative control, you can switch to aperture priority mode. In this mode, the camera will set the shutter speed automatically while you adjust the aperture manually. We'll choose a smaller aperture value like f2.8 to create a shallow depth of field. This will cause everything in front of and behind of your subject to be defocused. When shooting at distances of less than 9 inches, using a macro lens may be necessary. Sony's macro lenses will help you capture incredible detail and get extremely close to the subject. Now let's talk a little about photographing children. One of the easiest ways to create beautiful photos of children is with the portrait mode, which is one of your camera's scene modes. This will help you emphasize a subject by blurring the background. It also reproduces soft skin tones. Make sure you focus on the child's eyes for best results. Try to frame your subject in an interesting way. Try using the rule of thirds or leading lines techniques here for framing. Another method you can use to create a shallow depth of field or defocused background is aperture priority mode. In aperture priority, you can simply select a smaller f-stop number to blur the background. For photos of children and other portraits, the use of a 35mm fixed focal length lens will allow you to easily blur the background while capturing the subject with stunning detail. A 35mm lens will reproduce the natural angle of vision of the human eye. Another common shooting scenario is fast action and sports. For these types of images, you will usually want the action to be frozen or captured without any motion blur. A quick way to do this is with another one of the camera's scene modes, the sports action mode. This mode is pre-programmed to shoot fast motion at high shutter speeds. If you hold down the shutter button, the camera will continue taking pictures one after another until you release the button, making sure that you get the shot you want. This mode works best with well-lit environments, as insufficient light will not allow high enough shutter speeds. Many Sony cameras feature a unique continuous priority mode. With this mode, you'll have the ability to capture very fast-moving subjects with amazingly crisp focus. Another option for freezing motion is the shutter priority mode, which is indicated by an S on the mode dial or LCD. A faster shutter speed, like 1/500th of a second or faster, will give the best results. When you're photographing sporting events or action shots, the use of a zoom lens will help you get close to the action without actually moving the camera. With your Sony camera, you will have the ability to capture amazing memories from vacations. In addition to the scenarios that have been discussed, there are a few other camera features that you'll probably find helpful for capturing vacation memories. There are 2 scene modes that you may find especially helpful. First, the sunset scene mode is designed to vividly and dramatically capture the warm colors of dusk and dawn. This mode is also great for capturing silhouettes. Shutter speeds may be slow in this mode, so you might consider using a tripod. Next, the nighttime portrait scene mode is great for capturing images of people in nighttime scenes. In this mode, the flash will fire to expose the subject, and the shutter will remain open for a longer period of time to properly expose the background. Vacations are also a great time to use a zoom lens. With a zoom lens, you will have the ability to zoom in to capture the action and emotions of the trip, and you'll also have the ability to zoom out to capture stunning landscape shots. There may be times when you find yourself shooting in dimly lit environments, but don't worry, Sony cameras have powerful features to help you get great shots. A great mode to use in low light conditions is the handheld twilight scene mode. With this mode, you can take pictures at night without using a tripod and still get impressive results. Use this mode for stationary subjects or scenes. The handheld twilight mode takes a burst of shots and then combines the shots to create one image with reduced blur, camera shake, and noise. Keep the camera as still as possible during the continuous shooting. Please note that after the shots are taken, there will be a delay while the camera processes and combines the images. Sometimes you may be shooting fast-moving action in low light, such as indoor sports. In this situation, it's best to increase the ISO, or light sensitivity, to allow for a faster shutter speed enough to freeze the motion. Note, however, that the use of higher ISOs will increase the appearance of digital noise or grain in your photos. When you're taking pictures in low light conditions, you will probably want to use a lens with a wide aperture. Wide aperture openings will allow more light into the camera, so you can use a faster shutter speed to avoid blurry images. With Sony's Play Memories Home, or PMH software, you can display images from a Sony camera, organize images on a calendar according to the date they were taken, apply basic retouching, send images as email attachments, create a data disc, DVD, or Blu-ray disc, and more. Note that while the image and movie files recorded by Sony cameras are both Windows and Mac compatible, the PMH software is compatible only with Windows-based platforms. Mac users can utilize iPhoto and iMovie to easily organize, sort, and perform basic edits to their images and movies. To use the Play Memories Home software, it will first need to be installed on your computer. For some models, you can use the supplied Play Memories Home software CD. For other models, you can download the software from Sony's eSupport website. For movie editing, Sony offers a great group of software programs called Sony Vegas, which will allow you to create amazing movies using both still images and movie files. There are many other very popular video and photo editing software suites for both Windows and Mac platforms that will allow you to make extensive edits to your photos and videos, create beautiful digital scrapbook pages, and much more. There are many ways that you can use and view your photos and videos recorded with your Sony camera. First, you can view them on the camera's large True Black LCD, on your computer, or you can connect your camera to an HD TV. Note that viewing on an HD TV will require an optional HDMI cable. Another great way to share your photos and videos is with Sony's Play Memories Online. With this convenient service, you will have the ability to enjoy your photos and videos on various devices, including smartphones, tablets, computers, and even Sony Bravia TVs. Once your photos have been uploaded with the web portal, one of the easy-to-use apps or Play Memories Home software, you can create photo books, share your photos privately, and view your photos on a variety of devices. Digital photography has never been easier, more convenient, or had so many amazing possibilities. With Sony cameras and the wide array of optional accessories, you'll be shooting like a pro in no time. We hope you have enjoyed learning more about your camera, and remember, you can review any section of this video at any time. For more camera information, online tutorials, and optional accessories, visit esupport.sony.com. Your new Sony camera can help you capture amazing images, but what is white balance, metering, dynamic range optimization? Quickpro camera guides are filled with answers to these questions and more. We'll help you unlock the full potential of your camera. Quickpro camera guides walk you through everything from a camera body tour to exposure modes and a menu system tour. We'll explain white balance, creative styles, metering, focus modes, and the list goes on. You'll learn as you watch how to control your camera and see examples of what different settings will do for your pictures. The results can be spectacular.